Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Online Darts Fallout Bar as the PDC travelling circus that is the BetMGM Premier League Darts reaches its highest and most northerly point of the tour as we bring to a conclusion night 14 from the P&J Arena in Aberdeen. I am joined, you will notice this evening, for most of this year, we've been a two-person show. And it was a three-man show last year, so we've decided to step back up proceedings as we reach the business end of the tournament. I am joined by Mr. Gerwen Evans and Mr. Jarlath Eaton. Gentlemen, how are we?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, I enjoy Aberdeen. It's one of my favourite stops of the Premier League, so I was very much looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, this is lovely to be back. I haven't been on for a good while. The last time I was on a Fallout Bar, I didn't have a child, which feels like about a lifetime ago. So no, very, very pleased to be back and very, very pleased to be with the two of you. Good evening as well, everybody. Hello, chat room.
Yeah, we've already got quite a few in this evening. It's busy. We've got Matt and Matthew in. Malachy is in. Shelty's in. We've got a few involved in the chat room. Please, if you are watching, feel free to get involved in the chat room. We will have a little talk through tonight's action, what was good, what was bad, what was hilarious, what we don't want to see ever again, what was brilliant. We'll also later on be doing some predictions ahead of night 15 next week in Leeds, in the First Direct Arena in Leeds. So feel free to get involved in the chat room. We do have a few little rules. You aren't able to get involved in the chat room and enjoy this excellent banter unless you are subscribed to the channel. So please do click that subscribe button and that will open a doorway for you to get involved in the chat room. So we'll stick to the same format. It's tried and tested. We've been using it for a few years now. We'll open up with a little bit of a chat. Now, I think first of all, before we go through the quarterfinals, we must address the fact that we were almost robbed, let's say, of a quarterfinal this evening, as the game we were all, I'm sure, looking forward to between Luke Humphries and Gervyn Price didn't take place after an announcement around lunchtime this afternoon.
This is what happens when I predict Gervyn Price to win an evening. He pulls out injured. That's sort of sums up my prediction campaign this year, I think. But no, obviously, he pulled out of the Austrian Open on the weekend and his back hadn't recovered to make the journey up to Aberdeen.
All I'll say is, Carwyn, is that you've turned on the predictions game. You know how this works already by now. As a new member of the team, as soon as you predict something to happen, the exact opposite will. Although, as Rodson has always told us, every outcome is possible, except if you don't actually play. On a serious note, I'm sure we could all agree on this. Best wishes to Gez. We don't like seeing anybody fall away injured. However, I hate to be the bearer of bad news on this. I think this actually is the beginning of the end for Gervyn Price as a dart player. Not because of his ability, that is unquestionable, but I just don't think, I think the technical term is that he gives a shit about darts anymore. I really don't. Like, he's a world champion. Again, you can make the merits of that in the COVID year, but he was the best player on Planet Darts that year and he deserved to win the world championship. He has got multiple houses and a property empire that is through the roof. And he's made an absolute fortune from the game. A game that he doesn't really enjoy anymore. And he's also said himself that he thinks that he's coming towards the end of his career. He's even said like he would happily go and play in every other tournament bar Alexandra Palace, which is the biggest one of the lot. If you're around that environment already, then, he's still a young man, Gezi. I don't think he's even 40 yet. No. And he's saying that sort of stuff. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I really don't. But I just don't think that we're going to see Gervyn Price stay in darts that long. I mean, we've seen him pull out the Masters. He said family commitments. all I'll say is that it's a very interesting family that he's got down at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff watching Wales versus Scotland in the Six Nations Championship. I just think this is the beginning of the end, mate. I really
Yeah,
do.
the hunger's gone, hasn't it? He's lost that want, I guess. Because if he was still in the hunt for the Premier League, would his back have been that bad tonight? I don't know. It just feels like, as you say, he's fed up, had enough.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to say. If he was cuspy, if he was on 22 points, sitting in 5th position this evening, would it have been something he would have attempted to play through? It's even more interesting if the injury is, the injury's already kept him from playing darts on 2 occasions. Let's make the wild assumption that he's not going to be at the Pro Tour early next week. And focus.
You don't think he's going to make the trip over to Hildesheim? You cynical bastard!
It is. I'm a natural cynic, but let's make the assumption that he's not going to be there. But what is and it would be a desperate shame for an event that we've followed now for 14 weeks, because Gervyn Price's quarter-final next week, the opening game against Michael van Gerwen, whilst not particularly pivotal for Gervyn Price's fortunes in the Premier League this year, is very important for both the Premier League campaign of Michael van Gerwen and those around him in the table. So it would, let's say, maybe spoil the competitiveness perhaps of next week if Michael van Gerwen does get that walkover. And just to make sure that I'm clear, because I think that I am, whilst that was a walkover victory for Luke Humphries this evening over Gervyn Price, in terms of the league table, am I right in saying that Luke Humphries obviously got his 2 points for that victory, and was it a +1 leg difference from that?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Gezi gets a -6, Luke Humphries gets a +1, which I find a little bit strange. I'll be straight on that one. Do you know what? I've just actually had a look on the PDC website, and they have said currently, as things stand right now, Gervyn Price actually is making the trip to Hildesheim. Whether that be the case on Monday morning.
Yeah, he's not on the list yet of those that have withdrawn. But if I was the first reserve at the moment, I would probably be packing my, I'd be making sure I got my washing done to make sure all my clean stuff was ready to pack over the weekend.
Yes, totally agree.
With that, I think we should probably talk about some actual darts that did actually take place. This evening's opening quarter-final, and there was probably, I think there's been quite a lot of talk about this game in the run-up to this week, because obviously Peter Wright has had, let's be honest, a complete stinker of a tournament so far, with little bits of glimmers here and there to say that he might be able to start throwing something, or he will at some point in the future. But there's been an awful lot of talk about where Michael Smith has been for the last week, which for those of you who don't have any social media whatsoever, he's been in Las Vegas with a Mr. Nathan Aspinall. And there were
That's hilarious, by the way. Can I just? I'm sorry to interrupt, Dan, but that is absolutely hilarious. Like you're going for fourth. You're going for the 4th place currently right now in the BetMGM Premier League, and the 2 of you are off swanning off to Vegas to go and watch David Guetta at a pool party. I find that absolutely hilarious.
It's not. It's not what you would commonly expect of elite sport, is it?
You wouldn't see Aston Villa and Tottenham players going off and swanning off to each other to Vegas or somewhere like that for a David Guetta
the week before they play each other in a cup semi-final.
Yeah, absolutely right. It doesn't make any sense. But darts is darts.
It certainly is, and whilst there were a lot of people, and I'll put my hands up, I did pick Peter Wright to win this. People were thinking, was Michael Smith going to be a bit jet lagged? Was he not going to be able to come in all guns blazing? Was he going to be tired? And Carwin, it didn't look that way in the quarterfinal, did it at all?
No, he seemed as if he'd recharged his batteries. A few days away. Obviously, it does feel like another game where Peter Wright has been in it and somehow managed to tail off at the end and lose it. And it probably sums up his campaign, really, where he's been in games, he's had a chance to win. I think he was 4-3 up in that first game tonight, and then all of a sudden, bish, bash, bosh, Michael Smith wins it with a mid-90s average. And I don't know, maybe he'd looked at the schedule before jetting off to Vegas and thought, oh, I've only got Peter Wright. He's not doing that well at the moment. I can afford a few days away and then set up a semi-final with either Littler or my mate Aspinall, who might not have been as fresh after a few days in Vegas.
Yeah, the first 4 legs, Jack, were all breaks of throw. Was that, do you think, a sign that neither player was particularly settled and comfortable and ready to go, and that Michael Smith just managed to settle that bit quicker and better than Peter Wright in this one?
I've got to be honest, mate. This game just happened. Yeah. Like I'm going through the stats in it now. I'm looking through the whole entire game. Michael Smith could have been out of sight by leg 4. He had darts to win 3 of the 4 legs, at least 3 of the 4. It might have even been 4. He could have been out of sight in this game, but he just couldn't get going at all. Look, everybody knows my thoughts on Peter Wright and where he stands in the Premier League. I don't think he should have been picked. I don't think that he should ever be picked again unless he goes and does something truly ridiculous. People are not made for the format sometimes, and I hate to agree with Jack Garwood because we all know my thoughts on Jack Garwood. However, he's absolutely bang on when he says Peter Wright is not made for this format. And looking at the game as a whole, this is probably one of his better performances in the Premier League so far this season. But Michael Smith just found, I think some real quality, because Michael Smith will have been hurting from the week before. Losing to Rob Cross, I think genuinely could be the difference in him losing out on a playoff spot. So to come back and do that, and then obviously we're right there on 64, looking to level the game and take it to a no ball leg, to then find the 1-4-6, which is the incorrect way to go, by the way. Can we just point that out? There was a little
bit of discussion, ladies and gentlemen, in our little WhatsApp group, and views did differ between the team.
You always start on the 19s on a 1-4-6, and I won't have anybody else tell me otherwise. But on a serious note, fair play to him, because he turned that into a real positive, and it put pressure on the 2 players who started the night in the playoff places. Yes, they ended the night in the playoff places, but it put the pressure on them to try to deliver. Spoiler alert, they didn't.
Yeah, it did. It was very much. It was a must-win match for Michael Smith. This both in terms of pure numbers and maths in the league table, but you've also got to feel, when he was sitting outside of that top 4 and needing to gather some points, playing the player that has got the worst form in the tournament. He really did need some. But you are right. I think I'm going to tend to agree with you. There are a few games across this Premier League where I've pretty much summed them up, is that they were darts matches and they happened, and we'll talk about the other ones now. So moving along, and this one, I found this interesting. There's a few observations that both myself and Gerwen and Cow have made about Luke Littler in the Premier League across recent weeks, in that there is a level of maturity that's seeing him overcome problems in games and being able to get the job done. And Jarlath, the doubles were a problem in this game, weren't they?
Wright Smith or Littler?
Sorry, have I not? I've completely missed out the intro. No, I've gone on to the next game. I do apologise for that. It's because I opened it up on my screen before we wrap that one up. I've gone to Littler against Nathan Aspinall. That's where I'm at now.
Look, this was Littler could have easily been 3-4-0 up by the time we got to 2 apiece. And then obviously towards the back end of that game, it was very similar actually to what happened last week in the semi-final. Aspinall missed 5 match darts and Littler pinged the ball to go on and win it. Littler missed 5 match darts. Aspinall missed the match dart as well himself before Littler got and won it on double 10. I very much enjoyed the celebration because going on to things that we don't like to see, the amount of whistling in that venue. Look, I've been to the P&J. I think it's a fantastic venue. I really do. And I think Aberdeen always do show up well. However, the whistling tonight, in particular in the final, was fucking bobbins. You are paying good money to watch amazing players. Why you feel the need to whistle, beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, I think my views on whistling fans have been relentlessly hammered home over 14 weeks, and yeah, I have them taken out and summarily executed in the car park. I just think it's. I think it's
you
completely
Jeremy Clarkson on this.
I think it's completely
more shot.
I think it's completely unacceptable, and more needs to be done to just put it right. It's and I mean it wasn't. It's normally the Euro Tour where I lose my temper about it, but no, it was completely abysmal and it's unacceptable. It looked a little bit, Carwyn. Nathan Aspinall wasn't ahead at any point in this game and didn't look to be ahead at any point in this game until he got those match starts, and there was some potential, wasn't there, for it to be one of those Nathan Aspinall games that he just manages to stay in and hang around and fight and just get the job done. But this is a few weeks on the spin now that we've seen match start problems for Nathan Aspinall, and he's not been able to get those match starts in situations where we normally do see him do so.
No, and I don't want to blame myself again, but once Price pulled out, I predicted Asp would win the night. So there we are then. But no, as in, I had a feeling Aspinall was going to nick this one actually 6-5, and when he got the match start, I thought, oh yes, what a beautiful pick. But I'm not going to say he's feeling the pressure, but for years he's sort of been that young kid on the block in terms of the Premier League, where he's been going up there doing it and sort of without any pressure. All of a sudden, Luke Littler comes on board. They're good mates, same stable, and all of a sudden, he's become like a senior player, and there's this younger, better dart player doing his thing at the moment, and I think it's getting to him a bit that he just can't seem to shake Littler off and can't seem to get in his head in the same way as Littler has done to every other player in the professional darting world. And I think that's all Aspinall needs is a few niggly wins against Littler, and I think he'll be okay again. Obviously, he's in a very difficult situation in the Premier League at the moment where, yes, he's in the top four, but with potentially MVG getting a bye in the first round next week. Obviously, we don't know anything about that yet. There's a week to go. It's a long time in that. But it just piles a bit more pressure on again. And yeah, I don't know. It seems to have lost his cool. I know he described himself as a chav from Stockport to Phil not long ago, but he seems, I think he's lost that chav attitude that he might need to just keep a cool head and get the job done. Sometimes that's all you need to do, is just get the job done.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting with the fixtures next week because look, and we'll come to the league table in a little while, but without spoilers, Aspinall's on 25 points in third place, and Michael van Gerwen is in fourth on 24. Now that does put, in terms of positions, Michael van Gerwen as a bit of a buffer between Nathan Aspinall and Michael Smith, who's coming towards those two. But because that gap is only 1 point, if Michael van Gerwen gets a walkover next week, if Nathan doesn't win his opening game, he's already dropped a place just on the basis that Gervyn Price hasn't turned up. Now, I'm not saying that MVG wouldn't beat Gervyn Price, but that's not even going to be potentially an option if Gezi isn't there. And Nathan could really be up against it next week when he comes to play his opening game. And interestingly, when we'll come to predictions, well, that is against the ever on the coattails Michael Smith, who was aiming for that exact spot. So very interesting opening game for next week. Our third quarterfinal, unfortunately our last quarterfinal for this week, was another one that was quite interesting. And I suppose it's more interesting because this just got to be the highest losing average of this year's Premier League. I'll have a quick look while you two have a chat. But Carwyn, how did Michael van Gerwen not win this match?
To be honest, I'm not sure. As in,
I am.
stats usually don't lie,
To
but
come to you.
I'll just say this. Sorry, Colin. I'll let you actually give an analysis on this in a minute, but I'll tell you how Michael Van Gerwen lost this game. It's because Rob Cross hit more doubles than Michael Van Gerwen did. That's normally how a darts match works. Sorry, that was. I'm being facetious. Sorry, Colin. Carry on.
No, to be well, that's a much more educated answer than I was going to give. But yeah, it was one of those where Rob Cross, after what he said, I think was it after the final last week, he said can't qualify, playing for the money, and it almost felt like he's let his arm go and gone for it. Obviously, stats suggest that MVG should have been sitting pretty with a 6-3, 6-4 win, but that's not how darts work. And Rob Cross being Rob Cross just sometimes gets it done. It's sort of a very typical Rob Cross performance, I thought, in the way he just casually 5-4 down, win 6-5.
I'll tell you what, actually. Sorry, Dan, I'll just say one quick thing. I think I even need to change my own analysis because MVG's doubling was 5 for 11 and Rob Cross was 6 for 14. So in the end, he didn't actually hit as many more doubles than him. Actually, had more double attempts at him. But no, go on, Dan. You were going to say that.
I think the where the stats don't tell the stories. I think much of Michael Van Gerwen's best work was actually done on his own throw, and for a man who has branded himself for many years now as the person or the player who does the right things at the right time. The average was great and the doubling was very good. But that was the one thing that, for me, Michael Van Gerwen didn't do in this match. He didn't do the right things at the wrong time. All his best work was done on his own throw. And whilst there was a couple of breaks and he exchanged some breaks, he just didn't take that, really put the hammer to Rob Cross. Even with that average, it was a few where he just had some loose visits. Where he did have the loose visits, they were on the Rob Cross run. He just couldn't make inroads into this game, I didn't think.
What was quite interesting is the fact that Carl mentioned it there. He was 5-4 down, and Rob Cross was 5-4 down. That was the only time in the match that he was down. He went 2-0 up. Then MVG got it back to 2-2. Then he went 3-2, and then he went 4-3. And so it felt like for most of the game, MVG was playing on the back foot. And look, I said a couple of weeks ago on the live lounge that I thought that MVG was in a bit of bother. I don't think he is, purely because of the way that the fixtures have worked out. However, if he genuinely believes that he's going to win that 8th Premier League title, and we know MVG is very bullish on stuff, my Christ, he has to improve. That is, I think, barring night 11 when he won in Birmingham, which has sealed, in my opinion, his playoff spot, I think he has won 2 in 10, I'm going to say, Premier League matches. Not very good to the standard that we hold Michael Van Gerwen. And that's what I have to clarify when I say that. And I think that MVG at the moment is searching for something that isn't there. The throw still isn't great. The throw with the new darts, they're not new darts now. They were made in 2020 for Christ's sake. But with these current darts, the throw is still not good. He still always seems to be flying well over the top. There's a lot more stray darts than there used to be with the old darts and with the old grip. I think that he's still searching for something that isn't there and hasn't been for a while. 2022, he was fantastic. You look at winning. He won the Premier League. He won the Players' Championship. He won the World Grand Prix, if memory serves me correct. He won a couple of other titles as well. Look, he's been fantastic. But the Premier League is his tournament. It's basically the Michael Van Gerwen Invitational, and it has been for years. And this year, it ain't that. And he said himself he wasn't going to get bored after winning 3 on the spin earlier on in the season. Don't think he's got bored, but I do think that the players have just caught up to him a little bit, and he's tinkering a lot heading into the I don't want to say the proper season, but the biggest season of the lot.
Yeah. Where the big money comes.
Yeah, where the big prizes are handed out. Where the big
so
top. Thomas makes a good point here, actually, right? He says to think that MVG and Littler have both won 4 nights, but Littler is 14 points clear of him. That is ridiculous.
Well, I would suggest, and just firming up the point that you made a few minutes ago, in the last 10 weeks, he's won his opening quarterfinal 3 times. In 2 of those, he didn't then come through the semi. So in 10 weeks, he's come through his opening quarterfinal 3 times. In 2 of those, he then lost the semi-final. We had the anomaly, I suppose, at this end of in this Premier League was night 11 when he did go on to win it. So even if you take his runs and the amount of possible games you can play in the Premier League, he's won 5 matches in 10 weeks, which includes a night win.
Is the difference this year that there are 2 players who are genuinely putting him under pressure in the table, where most years there might be one other player who's really playing well who can push him, but this year both Lukes are playing so well that he can't fight both of them off, and that is why we're seeing he's almost trying too hard to close the gap, but by trying too hard, he's losing quarterfinals left, right, and centre.
What I don't understand more of that anything, and I've never really understood this, the fact that in February he was flying. He'd lost the final of the Masters, okay, fair enough, but he'd won the Dutch Darts Masters 3 weeks before the start of the Premier League. He then won 3 back-to-back nights in Berlin, Glasgow, and somewhere else. I was busy with the birth of my child on that week, but genuinely, like he was flying. But then the UK Open hit when he had the injury to against Mensah, and he's not looked the same since. That's been his issue, and I still don't think that he's 100% from that. And I don't think that he's going to get 100% until after the Premier League. I have no doubt in my mind that if it's as bad as we still think it is, and it probably still is, he ain't going to the World Cup of Darts again. 3rd year in a row that he'll miss out, because he wants to defend the match play title, because he has got £150,000 to defend in his ranking. Currently, right now, he's going to be world number 3 with 300 grand, because he's got such a massive amount of money to defend from 2022. MVG will not play. MVG will never make excuses because that's not the way that he does. He always says he makes too many mistakes, but at the same time, he's got to find a way back, because appreciate on finals night, if he's there, I think he will be, but if he's there, he will have the opportunity to go and win an event. And obviously you only have to be great for one night. We've seen that with Barney, we've seen that with Gary, we saw that with Johnny in 2021 and Duzza in 2020. To be fair, he played well prior, but then towards the back end of the Premier League, we saw that his form had dropped off a little bit. So you only have to be great for one night. But I just don't know. There's something still not right with him. And I hope he gets it sorted.
Yeah, I think we're going to, once next week's opening fixture, and we'll come to them in a little while, is a really interesting one. What that semi-final did, though, that quarter-final did, just to bring them to a close, is it did, after many weeks of us asking whether or not it was finally time for us all to just say it, but it does put the official brackets E, close brackets, next to the name of Mr. Rob Cross. Rob Cross could win the final 2 events, and he will not be qualifying for finals night. So that it brings to an end,
are we sure?
Mathematically, the campaign of Rob Cross.
Are we sure? Because unless Sky have got it completely wrong, let's have a quick look. What's the table looking like? He could still get there. He's on 17, and MVG's on 24. He can still get there. 27.
Are you sure with the losses of points with the fixtures?
Yes, still just about.
Yeah, because Smith or Aspinall will lose the quarter final. Cross is probably supporting Smith in that one. Not that he does.
Well, I should be writing to the producers of the league that I'm currently looking at, who have put Steve next to the name. I should be writing a strongly worded letter.
All I'll say is, Dan, is that if you want to do maths and want to get people qualifying, talk to me. Because I don't like to toot on my own horn. However, I beat Sky and the PDC to both Littler and Humphreys qualifying tonight.
Well done. Well
Thank
done,
you.
Charlie.
Thank you. Thank you. I needed to shout that out.
Quarterfinals are done. Let's move to semi-finals. Now, if you nipped to make a cup of tea, or you had to put an awake child that had woken up from his bed and you had to go and put him back, then you may well have missed this game because it happened incredibly quickly. And this was, and after fighting around a little bit on the doubles and a few games where he's sort of piddled around the 100, this was another absolutely ridiculous performance from Luke Littler with a 110 average, 6 from 7 on the doubles. Is this the Premier League winner, Jarlath?
No. I still don't think he will. Purely because, as I've just said, it's all down to one night. Look, I was one of the very few people that said as soon as he played against Christian Kist in the World Championship, get him in the Prem, because he would have revitalised this product, this league, and he has done. But I am hesitant to say that he's going to win it on debut, purely because A, he's never been in that situation before, and B, I still maintain that the other Luke is by far and away the best player in the world. By far. Like, a distance as great currently as it is from me to Rotterdam right now. I do genuinely believe that. He is I hate to use the word generational, but he's a generational talent. He's going to move the needle for darts in more ways than one, and he is currently doing that. However, I want to pump the brakes a little bit. I thought he would get there. I thought he would make the playoffs. But to go and win it in that cauldron on finals night. However, though, I mean, he's done it in the Motor Super Series. He's won playoff nights. So why not? Why not? But I still don't think he does. I still think Luke Humphreys wins it.
Carwyn, can we really have any criticism of Michael Smith here? Was there anything that he could have done?
Could have turned up, but no. To be fair, Littler just had one of those 20-minute spells where Michael Smith probably needed a fourth dart to get ahead. It was just one of those games where he got one shot of the double, hit it, and Littler was just phenomenal. It was almost as if he was after his reaction following the Asp victory, he sort of came back out and just showed the crowd, do what you want. I'm going to hit 110 average. It's just almost going to feel sorry for Michael Smith in a game like that, where he hits just shy of a 98 average, 2 maximums. Just sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say I lost to a better player. And when you're riding the crest of the wave that Luke Littler is currently on, it's very hard to sort of knock him off it. Although I do have to agree, I don't think he wins finals night as well as he's playing. And purely because I believe a certain Mr. MVG qualifies and beats him in the semi-final.
Wow. It's a Michael Van Gerwen Invitational. It's back.
And sets up a final with Luke Humphreys. That is my
Tell you what, if that happens, there will be a lot of bookmakers jumping up and down and celebrating.
It's mad at the moment, the fact that, as you said, that the world match play favourite is going to be unseeded because he's not playing. Thing is that he isn't ever going to be seeded, but he could still be the top Pro Tour player. He's not going to be because he's not going to the Pro Tours this week. And he's also said that he's going to the Cup final instead of playing in the sixth one in Holland. So he isn't going. But the thing is though, there's still 4 Pro Tours before the match play, and there's a Euro Tour. If he wins that, he can still go top of the Pro Tour. It's ridiculous. This kid.
It's completely bananas, isn't it? But very, very impressive. And let's be honest, these are the performances that we do want to see. on the Premier League. This is what the Premier League is all about. It's seeing the very best in the world, short format in a big arena, coming out and playing darts in that fashion. Second semi-final, I felt hugely entertaining for very different reasons. I thought this was a fascinating watch. More breaks of throw than we've seen throughout the rest of the night. Didn't so much light up, certainly didn't light up in terms of stats, but for an exciting, twisty-turvy, entertaining game, Carwyn, this was an impressive watch, was it not?
Yeah, it almost felt, in footballing terms, a six-pointer. Even though there was nothing really on it, but it just felt like both players were sort of feeling each other out early on, breaking throws, and it's just, a lot of missed doubles, which sort of added to the excitement, really. None of them were prolific on the outer ring, but it was a real good watch. And again, I don't know what it is with this Premier League, but so many players break throw to go 5-4 up to only lose then the 10th leg on their own darts to set up a last leg decider. It's as if they want to give us that last leg drama, and it certainly adds to it. And yeah, two players maybe sort of contrasting forms in this season's Premier League, but both sort of desperate for the wins for different reasons, I guess.
So, Jarlath, within the last 10 minutes, you've badged this man the greatest player in the world. 26% on his doubles, 94 average against not one of the top four. Was that a bit underwhelming, do we think? Has he not warmed up? Is the lack of quarter-final hurt him, do you think?
Everyone's entitled to a bad day at the office.
So, I'll just before you go on, right? So,
go on.
I've been regularly picking Luke Humphries in the Premier League, and every week on the Fallout, I've sort of looked at his averages week after week and gone, oh, like, because he's so good. Like, he's so good that how can we keep every week seeing, like, well, there's another 96, there's a 98. Oh, he's played particularly well tonight. He's got 100, but then he's gone out. He's come back out in the semi-final with a 92. Every week I have said sooner or later he'll just come out and absolutely blow someone away. But I seem to have been saying that for 6, 7, 8 weeks now, and it still hasn't happened.
Well, it happened from night 6 to 8, didn't it? In my opinion, that is the most dominant.
But that's a long time ago now in this tournament, isn't it?
It is a very long time ago. I don't know whether, because I appreciate nights 6 to 8 were after the UK Open final, but I don't know whether the way that UK Open final happened and everything that happened in that game, when he, let's be honest about it, was the favourite to win, was pretty poor by his own standards, but he said himself that he was knackered at the end of it, which is a surprise considering the way that he is now. I don't know whether that affected him a little bit, but look, yeah, it's a long time ago. You know, we're talking 6 to 8 weeks ago, quite literally. And I think he will be the first to admit that he hasn't been on the same level that he has been. But darts, in a way, now, I've said this for years, though, Dan. And I know you know this because I've told you this on many occasions. Darts is such a peak and troughs game now. There's no way that you're going to have a Taylor dominance or an MVG 2016 year. You're just not going to have that. And there are going to be peaks and troughs. And I'm not being funny. Luke basically booked his final spot at that point. He booked his final spot by those 3 nightly wins. He probably got bored as well as MVG got bored after week 4. So I'm still not worried.
It's not so much a worry, but in terms of him turning up on finals night, since night 8, he's only averaged a ton once since night 8.
It has a need to, though.
He's in a quarter final of night 12. Everything else has been 90 something.
He's done the damage.
We know he's got it.
Yeah, but he's done the damage. He's qualified in a 16-week campaign, get to finals night, and then work on that. I don't think... I'm not overly worried about his form heading to finals night. I think he can turn it on when he needs to, as in tonight, he rocked Aberdeen, walk over in the quarter-final, and I thought, right, I don't really need to do anymore. I've got 2 points again, and happy days.
I've got the Q next to my name now. That's official.
Yeah.
Again, we were the first to report that. Just want to say that. But genuine point, right, though, is the fact that I tell you what's quite interesting, and we can talk about this a little bit later if you want, but I'm more than happy to talk about it now. Since that World Championship final, if it is the top two, and I still think they will be the top two, I think Littler will win the league completely. Will win the league leaders bonus next week. If it is the top two, they go to a last leg decider very, very, very often. I'm just going to go to Darts Oracle in a minute just to double check this. And Luke Littler's record against Luke Humphries, I think he might have only lost one game since the World Championship final to Luke Humphries all season. Exactly right. So that's that. I know we should be talking about tonight, and I know we should be talking about Luke Littler winning his fourth nightly win, and we should be talking about Rob Cross as well, because he's obviously come through and he's put himself now. That table's been changed now, Dan, because I've looked at it as well, Wikipedia. That's been changed now. He's not eliminated, but he's put himself in with the slimmest of outside shouts of playoff race. He's literally, I liken it to Mufasa in The Lion King when Scar's over the top of him. Brother,
well, I picked Rob Cross to win tonight, primarily because, as a man who, as you all know, loves chaos and chaotic scenarios, and I did think that a Rob Cross win tonight would create that little bit of chaos amongst that race for the top four. And I suppose while we're talking about whether or not Rob Cross won tonight, we should move along to tonight's final, which did see Luke Littler against Rob Cross. And, I mean, bloody good final, I think, compared to some of the, underwhelming finals we've seen some weeks. But, Carwyn, were you ever in doubt as to what the result was going to be?
Unfortunately not. I'd have loved a Rob Cross win, just as you say, to make it exciting, or even more exciting with four fighting for two. I know mathematically it still can happen, but a Rob Cross win tonight would have made it even tastier. But Rob Cross is another one. Littler seems to have his number. I think head-to-head heavily favours Luke Littler. He's averaged over 100 in the final, and he knows how to win at the moment, and he knows how to beat these players in the Premier League with him. As in, for the rest of the players on tour, I'd be worried about how well Littler is doing against these top boys week in, week out, because from here on, he's going to be very hard to beat because he's got that know-how of winning. And to win 4 Premier League nights on your debut campaign against the calibre of players, yes, they might not have all performed to the best of their ability this campaign, but they are still the top 6, 7 players in the world. As in, it is no mean feat week after week beating the likes of Humphries, Cross, MVG, Aspinall, and yes, Aspinall game went to a last leg decider, but it rarely goes to a last leg decider with Littler. He makes it look easy and wins comfortably.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think and I hope he's taken from the Premier League campaign is that, Luke Littler, I think people in the wider public think that because Luke is the age that he is, that he's quite new to darts. Luke Littler has played thousands of darts matches. Like he's not doing anything in terms of darts for the first time. He's thrown all of these darts before and all these combinations many, many, many times. He's not new to darts. What I think is almost, it's almost a dangerous thing for the PDC to have granted Luke Littler against the rest of the darting fraternity, is that he's now he's taking all the skills that he already had and learning to apply them in learning all the different ways to win against the very best dart players in the world. I don't just mean throwing darts at the board. I mean that he's coming through matches when his scoring's not quite there. And he's coming through matches when his doubling's not quite there. And he's coming through matches when the crowd's at him a bit. He's coming through matches when he's having to play a mate, or he's having to play a darting idol, or someone he's asked for an autograph 2 years ago. And I think the Premier League is in a very compacted amount of time developed Luke Littler to come through, as a dart player. That's my view on it. And I think it's very, very, very dangerous for the rest of the darting world. Jar, before we hear from Luke Littler, because our man in the venue, Phil Bars, has got a little interview for us to share with everybody. Any views on the final before we move on?
Not on the final per se. I think Littler just did what he did at the end. I know Cross went ahead, but I didn't think there was going to be any issue that Luke Littler was going to come back and win the game. Just more to your point about what he has achieved already in his career. I still remember being at a local league comp in 2019 when the kid was 12 years old and going, just out of interest, I looked at this kid and he was throwing 180s for fun. And I spoke to someone and I just went, who's this young man? And he went, this kid's called Luke Littler. I went, fuck me, I'll keep an eye on him. Obviously, look where he's ended up. It's 2023. I still remember talking about this on the Fallout Bar for the Worlds with the usual member of the team here, Cam McFarlane, who's not with us tonight, saying he's 2023, 2 times Moda Super Series champion against some half decent players. Not, let's not be disrespectful. JDC World Youth Championship, that's another one that he's won. World Youth Champion, would have been the number 1 seed going into the WDF World Championships had he chosen to play in it. Boys Champion, PDC World Darts Championship finalist on his debut PDC tournament, full senior tournament. This kid is ridiculous. And we have known about this kid in the darting fraternity for years. But as I keep saying, he is going to smash this sport to another level. And people will get bored of him pretty quickly, who are regular darts fans, I think, because the PDC are going to market him like they would do. Why wouldn't you? He's the hottest. He's the hottest. The kid's made the fucking Forbes under 30 for 30. I don't remember a darts player that's ever done that before.
I don't think Forbes have ever written the word darts in their.
But in the same breath, just in the same breath, as well, we all remember what happened with the glass ceiling moment, and we all thought that was going to be a superstar moment for darts, and it was for Fallon. COVID hit, and that affected her star power, if you like. This, nah. If he wins any big TV tournament this year, I mean, as I keep saying, people will think I'm stupid and think I'm being facetious. I'm not. He could equal Phil Taylor's record and better Phil Taylor's record before he's 40.
Well,
40.
What I've been saying to people for some time, and this is bookies being terrified, but since December, Luke Littler has been the bookies' favourite, with all of the bookies, to be BBC Sports Personality of the Year 2024.
And that's with. Hang on a minute. That's with
before
the
his
Euros
money
coming up.
No, that's with in an Olympic year with the Euros coming up
as well.
Yeah.
Madness.
Yeah, with potential boxing unified world champions and everything else that's going on this year. Since December, with every bookies, Luke Littler has been the bookies' favourite for BBC Sports Personality of the Year this year. And again, completely and utterly bonkers. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, why not hear from the man himself?
It's just what I've dreamed of growing up, watching the darts myself every Thursday. I'm here. Finally say I've qualified, and I can just settle going into Leeds and Sheffield. I know myself I'm playing well. I know I'm on whatever winning streak it is from Liverpool, Euro Tour and now. But I don't say if I am or not. I just let my darts do the talking.
It's frighteningly measured, isn't it?
It's ludicrous.
Yeah,
That's the right word for it.
It's frighteningly measured, and if I mean, and it can only be exciting. But good God, if you are trying to break into darts, and it does, but we've seen people in recent years who are no, and I don't mean young people. I'm not talking about the winners of the World Youth Finals. And, they're going to go on to do this now. But we've seen people, really, really, really good players, just trying for years to knock on the door of the top 10, haven't we? And just can't quite find that level to really mix it with the best in the world. And this chap just seems to turn up, and it all just seems to work for him every time he picks up a set of darts. So,
sorry.
Go on, mate.
I was going to say, for all his bravado and sort of personality, so humble in that interview, as in he's just in that interview, he looked like a 17-year-old. I've
been lucky enough to meet him a number of times in a number of different places. I think the first time I met him was in the Winter Gardens in Blackpool, and what you see on the telly of this sort of really nice. We've had him on the Live Lounge as a guest, and we saw he was in the Live Lounge live. We've managed a few times to talk to Luke, and when you speak to him when the cameras aren't on, he is the same, a humble, nice, polite chap. He's a lovely, lovely, lovely lad. Which is why it's very difficult to not enjoy all the fantastic things that happen.
Can I just say, last point on him, very last point on him. Currently, hasn't even got to any of the events yet. He's currently world number 9, going into next year.
Oh, yeah.
He's currently world number 9, and that is without any of the first round money being added in.
Brilliant.
It's just
absolutely.
The kid is just. I don't know a darting story like it. And I know this will happen because of the management that he's under. But I really genuinely hope that the feet is being kept on the ground with him, because I don't say this lightly. He could be a 3-time world champion before he's 20 years old. I would back him to win every single tournament that he enters right now, because he doesn't have any fear. He is better than 127 professional players right now. Luke Humphries will give him a very good game. And if you offered me Luke Humphries versus Luke Littler in a Premier League final over a best of 19 legs, thank you. I'll take that now.
Well, as we have begun there to look to the future, I think we will draw to a close our analysis of night 14 of the Premier League at the P&J Live in Aberdeen, and we will move ourselves down south to the First Direct Arena, that amphitheatre style. I love the Premier League in Leeds because I'm very much a fan of an amphitheatre style arena. So night 15
you know the best part of Leeds is?
I don't say it.
The M62, because you get out of Leeds and get back towards Manchester.
No, it's not actually. I'll see that, and I will raise you Skelton Lake Services, which are they opened in 2020, and they are the best services in Britain. The electric car charging is unbelievably fast, and they've got a Leon, which if you haven't had a Leon,
Dan Pellegrino's here. Here he is.
Leeds Skelton Lake Services, the best services in England. Right, night 15 in Leeds. Folks in the chat room, please feel free. As we talk, we're going to go match by match. We're going to pick some winners and scores of the quarterfinals, and then we are going to look for a winning finalist and who they are going to be in the final. Please feel free to drop your predictions into the chat room. We'll stick them on the screen, have a bit of crack about them match by match. So let's work on the assumption, gentlemen, that Gervyn Price has some, I don't know, a cortisone injection or a particularly good massage, and his back is working properly, and he makes his way to Leeds next week. Our opening game is Michael van Gerwen against Gervyn Price. And Carwyn, I will come to you first.
Well, last time I was on, I went against Price. And I feel it's the same again, as in, based on, I don't think he's interested in the Premier League. Maybe not, that's full stop. I think it could be very one-sided, and I will give him 2 legs, but I think MVG will need it more. He wants it more. He's got a playoff to fight for. I think MVG wins 6-2.
Jarlath?
Yeah, I don't. I actually had 6-2 as my scoreline as well. So what we can absolutely guarantee is that Gervyn Price is winning this game. But yeah, no, MVG wins 6-2 as well. And I think this is the game that eventually will finally put MVG probably all but there.
I feel that it's a bit boring if I say exactly the same thing. And all I can do, really, is just drop another leg and go 6-1 MVG, because I just think anything else, I'm just being a contrarian. I think if you two hadn't gone 6-2 first, I'd have probably gone 6-2. That'll be my official prediction. But just for the sake of balance, I'll go 6-1. We've got. Have we got any in the chat room? If you've got any predictions in the chat room, please throw them in. Chelsea, I can't work out what that one is. It's gone Price 4-6. Is that Price to lose 4-6 or win 4-6?
If you think Gervyn Price is beating Michael van Gerwen in the current state that he's in, then whatever you're smoking, please don't give me any.
Well, yeah, and the next one is a game. So we'll move on from that. We've done that one. We've got our predictions. The next game is a game that, gentlemen, we're going to have to get used to, because we are going to see this game for 2 weeks on the bounce.
Do we have to?
Yes, you do. So for the next 2 weeks, and this is why, if you were under any illusion as to who was going to top the table of this year's Premier League, once you start to settle in on the realisation that for the next 2 weeks we will be seeing Luke Littler against Peter Wright, that might change your opinion. So, gentlemen, Luke Littler against Peter Wright. Jarlath, I shall come to you first.
Z-Bagel. I'm going for Z-Bagel. 6-0. First 6-0 of the tournament, and it's going to be this week. Because let's be honest about it, Peter Wright don't want to be there. He's guaranteed to finish 8th.
Do you know who the last person to serve a bagel in the Premier League is, Jarlath?
I don't actually. Was it Peter Wright?
No, it wasn't. It was Chris Dobie.
Oh, was it? Oh, it's a shock horror that you know that. But yeah, no.
I'll show you the tattoo that says that. No,
no, I'm going with Z-Bagel. 6-0 Littler.
Gerwen.
Well, I thought I was going to be a bit harsh by giving Wright 1, but I might be generous now. Yeah, no, to be honest, similar to Price. Peter Wright's turning up for the sake of having to, I guess. So yeah, Littler can't do anything wrong. You could probably average 75 and win 6-1 next week. But yeah, 6-1 Littler.
Well, yeah. I think whilst Luke Littler has been amazing, there are legs to be had off him. There are legs to be had off him.
If you're any good, and at the moment Peter Wright is not.
And also look at Michael Smith in the semi-final tonight. He had 97 average and only got 1 dart at a double.
Peter Wright will hold 2 legs against Luke Littler. And Littler will win 6-4. Shelty's gone a bit clearer this time and gone with a 6-0 victory.
That's nice.
Much to the approval of Mr. Eaton. A repeat in our next quarter-final of one of our semi-finals this evening. Are we going for repeat or revenge? Who is Gerwen? You first for Luke Humphries against Rob Cross.
I think it'll be a case of revenge. I think Cross's dreams of making the playoffs are shattered by Luke Humphries in the quarterfinal. I think Humphries is going to start turning it back on now, getting to the business end, wants to be in decent nick getting to the O2. Humphries wins 6-4.
Charlotte.
I'm going all the way. I wish I was. 6-5 to Luke Humphries. I think he just scraped by, because Rob Cross will fight to try to stay in the race. But I think it will be 6-5.
I feel like my long-range predictions that have been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks are sort of both coming to a head against each other because I've been long-range predicting that sooner or later Luke Humphries is going to turn up and play monstrous again, as he did earlier in the competition. And I've also been predicting that or insisting that Rob Cross is not yet out of it. So I'm going to have to make a piece of one of those things being pushed back another week. And Luke Humphries could still play well in night 16, but if Rob Cross doesn't get through this game, he's for the knackers. So I'm going to go with a 6-5 Rob Cross victory, an exact repeat of this evening's score. So I'm just making sure that I write it down so that I don't end up making multiple predictions on 3 different shows in a week, which I have been known to do.
Yes.
Now,
yes, you
the final quarterfinal of the evening is really the only one that anybody's really bothered about, because this is the one that's really important, to be honest. So, Charlotte, come to you first for the result of Nathan Aspinall against Michael Smith. Oh, just before I move on, I will just note that in the chat room, Shelty's been tipping in all night, and they've got Humphries as a 6-3 winner over Cross. Sorry about that, Charlotte. I will come back to you again for Nathan Aspinall against Michael Smith.
don't apologise. It gives me more chance to think about where I'm going with this game. I think we have our third confirmed playoff person.
Oh,
Nathan Aspinall 6, Michael Smith 4. Asp then goes on. I'm just going to say quickly that Asp goes on and gets the final, which then gets him into the Premier League playoffs again.
very interesting. Gerwen.
Sorry, I'm quickly Google mapping what's closer to Leeds, because my geography of that part of the world isn't very good. Is it St Helens or Stockport?
Stockport is closer to Leeds.
Stockport, just about, I think, but it's
Yeah.
very tight.
Yeah, to be honest, you drive past Stockport to get there from St Helens, so but Stockport is marginally closer.
Purely based on that, 6-5 Aspinall. I think the crowd get
Crowd
on
hates
Smith's
it.
back.
There's no way the pair of them are going to get cheered. They're both Man United fans. There's no way in Leeds they're getting cheered. Absolutely no chance.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe because rugby league, then we'll go Aspinall 6-5, I think.
Yeah.
And I do quite enjoy being the contrarian, but I'm not even doing it for the sake of it, because I think that we are going to see. I think we're going to see some big scoring. And I think if they both get scoring and they're both scoring properly, Michael Smith wins. And he wins 6-3. I think Michael Smith puts a bit of a statement out in this first game.
You're manifesting chaos, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes, it is. It's exactly what I am. It's what I generally do in life. I'm manifesting chaos in the hope that it ensues. Shelty's gone not quite as chaotic as I have, but they've also gone with a Michael Smith win. They've got them winning 6-5 over Nathan Aspinall. But yes, 6-3 from me for Michael Smith. I will now come to you both, and anyone that's in the chat room wants to get involved, please drop your predictions in. I am looking for a finalist and who they be in the final. Carwyn, I'll come to you first.
Battle of the Lukes. And Humphries wins.
Oh, interesting.
Charlie.
Aspinall beats Humphries in the semi-final. Do I? Yes. Aspinall loses in the final to Michael van Gerwen. MVG beats Littler in a semi-final comfortably. I'm calling it as well, 6-2.
I
Bonus pick.
made a prediction for tonight that was that Rob Cross would beat Luke Littler in the final. And I am going to continue that. I'm going to roll the dice again with the same prediction, because I was bloody close tonight in terms of picking 2 from 8 and picking a winner. So
Close any cats in horseshoes, my man. I'm afraid.
I will go.
Sorry, I'm in a jovial mood because I've got to go and do a midnight feed in a minute.
There's a long gone from me, thankfully.
Yeah.
Rob Cross beats Luke Littler in the final next week. And ladies and gentlemen, you will find us here in the same place at the same time next week as night 15 of the Premier League draws to a close. What we will then have as well is some information. And we'll have some fixtures for night 16 because we don't know the fixtures of night 16 because they are all based around the league table. So one plays 8 and 2 plays 7. So next week we should know exactly what's going on, and we may well have a straight shootout for that final spot.
Just one thought as well. Lots going on over the weekend.
Oh, well, see, I was going to let's have a little. So, what's happening the next week? So, first and foremost, before we move on away from the Premier League and the fallout, blah, thank you again, as always, to BetMGM, our sponsors, title sponsors of the tournament. They continue to offer every Thursday evening their double your odds. If you are putting an acca on the darts up to the value of £5, they will double your odds. That means if you pick an acca and that has odds of 3 to 1, they will pay you 6 to 1 for betting up to £5. Now, please do, as always, gamble responsibly. 18 plus begambleaware.org. Now, in the little circle of online darts business, we've got a really, really busy week up ahead. We have got, what have we got coming up over the next few days? We've got a Pro Tour Monday and Tuesday next week. We've got a Pro Tour on Monday. We've got a Pro Tour on Tuesday. They will be live streamed on the channel as always. We have got the live lounge on Monday evening next week as ever. We've got night 15 of the BetMGM Premier League Darts Fallout next week. So really busy week. As always, we will have news, interviews. I'm sure that we'll be picking extra bits up through the week, and Phil will be busy as ever. If you are in the chat room, please make sure that you like and subscribe and click the little alert button to make sure that when we do go live, you get a little notification on your phone to tell you to tune in. And I think that that's about everything, is it, chaps? We've got nothing else to go over tonight, have we?
No, it's been a long show. No, it's been a very long show. Enjoyed it, though.
We've got about 18 minutes beyond where we normally go to. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll thank you all very much for tuning in. And I will thank Jarlath, and I will thank Carwyn, and I will see you all next week.